On the left, we see Michelangelo's celebrated Pietà sculpture from 1500. On the right, Bernini's famous Saint Teresa in Ecstasy from the mid-1600s. These major artists define Renaissance and Baroque period styles. Yet we cannot understand the art only by learning about the artist. Artworks belong to a bigger context, a social and physical environment that contributed to their development. The story of Renaissance and Baroque art is also the story of the cities where those artistic innovations were nurtured and developed. In the 15th century, Florence was the cradle of the early Renaissance. But in the 16th and 17th century, Rome became the capital of daring, ambitious new art. Why Rome? Why was that city so important to the Renaissance and the Baroque? Mostly because of the popes, who were willing to spend tremendous sums on art and architecture to glorify the city, their papal office, the Catholic Church, and themselves. Money is the dirty little secret of art history. The art we get depends on the economic system that makes that kind of art possible. So in art history, we proceed like someone solving a murder mystery, a detective. You figure out who had the means and the motive to do the deed. The popes in Rome had incredible financial resources, the means, and the motive to glorify themselves and the Catholic Church. Pope Julius II, for instance, shown in this profile portrait stamped on a coin, was an extravagant art patron. He spared no expense to hire a guy named Michelangelo to spend 4 years painting the ceiling of his Sistine Chapel. At the same time, he was paying another great artist, Raphael, one of the giants of High Renaissance painting, to create frescoes on the walls of his Stanza della Segnatura, the Pope's equivalent to an American president's Oval Office, where he signs official documents of state and meets great leaders. His most audacious project was to demolish the oldest and holiest church in all of Christendom, St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the burial site of St. Peter, considered the founder of the Catholic Church and first pope. But Julius wanted something more magnificent, something awe-inspiring. He initiated a hugely ambitious redesign that evolved through 4 architects, including Michelangelo and Bernini. Shown here in this later painting from the 19th century is the imagined scene where Bramante, the first architect, presents a plan to the seated Pope Julius II, and assembled at the side are Michelangelo and Raphael, ready to help out. As an architect, Bramante was famous for his classical designs, like this Renaissance church, organized around pure geometric forms with rhythmic, harmonious columns, all reviving the logical clarity of ancient Greek temples. These 4 architectural plans show you the transformation of St. Peter's Cathedral that Pope Julius set in motion. The simple rectangular design of the original building, which you see at far left, was now gone. Next to it is Bramante's vision, a symmetrical plan based on the clear geometry of circles and squares. It took 100 years for the project that Julius had started to complete, and during that time, the project grew ever more complex until finally it became the elongated building with multiple parts and a vast scale that you see at the right. Numerous architects had contributed, including Michelangelo and the final architect, Moderno. The building, completed finally in 1612, with its lofty dome and massive proportions, dominated the cityscape of Rome. This painting offers a view of the monument called the Castel Sant'Angelo, which is an ancient structure surviving from Roman times. Yet the grandeur of St. Peter's seems to overshadow that vestige of the ancient Roman Empire. For the popes, the city of Rome was their power center, the heart of the Catholic Church as an institution, and a stage to display religious and political majesty. This is why the popes spent so lavishly on art. They knew its powers of persuasion. And when the crisis of the Reformation caused the Catholic Church to mobilize a counter-Reformation, art and architecture served in the front lines of the battle for religious authority. This is why Bernini added yet another element to St. Peter's architectural evolution, designing a remarkably theatrical curving walkway. He called it the arms of the Mother Church, drawing in her children. There is one more critical point about the city of Rome. Remember that the Renaissance and Baroque periods were very much about a deep engagement with the artistic and cultural precedents of Greece and Rome, the study of Greco-Roman art. And this city was a living repository of the Roman Empire. The monuments of that mighty empire were dotted throughout the city. This painting shows all the major ancient monuments of Rome as if they were painted and hung up as individual paintings, along with major sculptures that influenced people like Michelangelo. It shows us that the city of Rome was a kind of storehouse of models, information, ideas that artists could study. For patrons like Pope Julius II, it was a place that held the legacy, the atmosphere of Rome's imperial power. That atmosphere of imperialism suited a papacy that in the 17th century had ambitions to be a religiously imperialistic Catholicism in the age of a growing Protestantism.